everyone, thanks for tuning in today. I'm Nicole Forbes with Dennis's 70s, and this is our class on indoor potted holiday bulbs. So really we're talking about Paperwhites and Amaryllis today. The handout is attached to the video, just as kind of like in the topic.
It's in the name of the video.
Up at the top there, and the handout's gonna have some details.
Hold on, we have to Okay, I think we're still live. Okay. Sorry, we're having some connection issues here.
And hopefully, again, everyone can hear me today. Just out of abundance of safety with COVID raging, I've got my fancy mask on. And, of course, if you like my mask, we do sell them here at Dennis 70s, just $12 in assorted patterns. And with the holidays coming and a lot of us home, there's a lot that we can do to, keep ourselves busy, take our minds perhaps off of, again, the news, have some sort of handcraft or, activity that can be done with friends and family. Even, this could be done together over a Zoom call or Skype or something where you all pot up together from, individual homes, your own Paperwhites, if that's something that, everyone would enjoy doing. We could all get the materials and come back together and, do it from separate locations. And with that in mind, I also just wanted to mention, if you do watch our classes, from time to time we have a lot of plants in here, and then other times I've got a pretty, bare bones backdrop that, as you realize, we do these classes from our break room here in the Lake Oswego Garden Center. I wanted to give you a little bit of a festive and more special backdrop today. And so we quickly were able to pull together with, some of the fabulous ornaments and holiday material that we have, just some fun decor items to create like a backdrop that shows off in the video. And I just wanted to kind of encourage you all to think about the various video calls that you may be having as Thanksgiving comes next week, Christmas a month away, and rather than sitting, in your dining room or, with the TV behind you or whatever, make a little spot that you can sit in a comfortable space with good lighting, of course, and put some pretty things behind you that are festive and fun to look at, so that as you visit with your family, just the call is full of cheer, right? From just the screen to the bottom of your heart. So we need cheer more than anything right now. And with that in mind, doing something with your hands that then allows you to watch as this then grows for you in the house instead of something outside. And then the end result, if it's Paperwhites, is a highly fragrant flower that lasts several weeks in the house, or an Amaryllis, which grows up with this rebar, thick, sturdy stalk and a cluster of large baseball or softball sized flowers that are trumpet shaped, either whites or pinks or reds, again lasting several weeks in the house. Both of these are dramatic in their own way. Dramatic in fragrance, I would say, is more for the Paperwhites, and dramatic in just not only the ability to kind of watch the Amaryllis grow when it starts to grow, and then just the pure glory of the flowers and their size in the house is just really, something that everyone kind of is shocked at or, amazed. So Paperwhites are in the Narcissus family, and Paperwhites are a very common bulb this time of year for what we call forcing indoors. And forcing really is just that we're going to put them directly into soil or even just water in the house, give them light and warmth, and they're going to start to grow. So you'll first of all see that the bulbs often have varying degrees of kind of a papery skin that hangs off of them. Don't worry too much about the papery skin, but definitely don't, stand there and peel it off like you would a garlic clove or something like that. Papery skin that falls off, fine. Papery skin that stays on, fine. You'll also see clearly roots on the bottom of some bulbs, but this bulb here has almost no roots at all. Really, it's just bare on the bottom, has not stopped it from making a shoot out the top. So you can look for roots, but if it doesn't have roots, it doesn't necessarily mean that the bulb is inferior. You do want the Paperwhite, whoa! You do want to try not to drop the Paperwhites. But if you do, again, just go after it, no harm done. It's like an apple or an onion, you could bruise it, I suppose, which could ultimately damage it. I don't think that happened right now, but, sorry guys. The size of the bulb should be fairly consistent. So, again, we've got about the same size on all of these bulbs. And the little bit that's coming out of the top, sometimes I guess all of these are sprouting, but sometimes the little bit that's sprouting out of the top has already made a significant curve. And that is simply because this bulb was laying in a box or a basket like this. So as the beginning sprout came out, it realized that the light source was coming from above, and so it's kind of adjusted its angle. Some of these are curved in different directions, and that's again just because the bulbs aren't planted yet. They're sitting in a basket or a box. But as soon as they are potted and stable in a single direction, I'm going to start juggling these in a minute. As soon as they're potted and stable in a single direction, these little curves will actually right themselves, and they will grow straight up instead of, staying permanently bent. So they're not like woody or misformed or misshapen, at least not, yet in this form. So Paperwhites take anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, or it could be even longer, from potting them to seeing them flower. Brighter light and a warmer environment will make them progress faster, and so lower light and or cool environment, like a place that doesn't freeze, but like my laundry room doesn't really have a heater vent that's in it. So like my laundry room is where I let them sit when I want to slow them down, and then bringing them into the kitchen, one of the warmer rooms of my house, to kind of let them speed up where they get some bright light and warmer conditions. Then they'll come into bloom faster. So 4 to 6 weeks on average for Paperwhites. So again, if you start looking at the calendar, what I mentioned, so Thanksgiving is a week away, and then Christmas is about a month from there. So we are at that 5 weeks, which seems like a perfect time to plant Paperwhites and expect that they will either be budded or in bloom right around the holidays. And if not, then you've got New Year's, coming up right around the corner, and it would be nice to have flowers for New Year's. I like to pot up Paperwhites about every 2 weeks, maybe even every 10 days to 2 weeks, starting as soon as I find them at the stores. So we've had them available for probably a month or so. So as you buy a couple at a time, you can either continually go out and restock your supply, or you can buy 2 dozen Paperwhites and plant 6, for example, every 10 days, which will then have you with flowers that are coming into bloom, lasting a couple of weeks, and then they're done. But you will have another batch of Paperwhites that are then just behind them by 10 days. That'll be the next ones to come into bloom, so that will give you a lot longer holiday display and extend your enjoyment of Paperwhites in general. Now, Paperwhites can be planted in soil, or they can be planted in water. And the same goes with Amaryllis. So I'm going to switch over to Amaryllis real quick, and then we'll do some potting, because otherwise I'm not going to put gloves on, so I'll get my hands dirty. So, oh no, I'll get my hands dirty. So here we have Paperwhites in a couple of different phases. So the bulb, right? Phase 1, the bulb. Then they get potted. We happen to have some that are potted in soil here. And phase 2 is the greenery that just begins to grow out of the bulb. So there's actually 4 bulbs in this pot, so we can see 1, 2, 3, 4 main shoots. So we'll have flowers coming out. In fact, believe it or not, right here is a plump little flower bud that's already emerging from this stalk. So you can see how quickly they go from leaves out to wanting to flower. I think flower buds are probably close, if not, poked down into the base of all of these coming up real soon. So already setting buds and growing, and the bulb is just down here in this nice little pot. But again, this is a 6-inch pot, and there's 4 bulbs in there. So that shows you that you can really, we don't like the bulbs to be touching, but you can really put several together instead of thinking, oh, well, one bulb per pot. Don't do that. So 4 bulbs at least in a 6-inch pot is a nice size. And we'd go, so from bulb to this could be about 2 to 3 weeks. Then we have another week or 2, for example, to get to this point here. So phase 2, right? Phase 3, now we've got our Paperwhites up. We have flower buds at the tops. There's 2 flower buds on this group. This is, again, 4 bulbs that were potted. So we have at least 3, I see 3 flower buds here, 2 here, 2 here. And you can see down in the, let's see how I can turn it. So you can see down in the soil, you can just see the base of the bulb. I'll pull that tag out. You can see the base of the Paperwhite bulb shows up in the video. So they're right at the surface, if not, not even completely buried. And it's best to leave them a little bit exposed, so a little bit out of the soil and out of rocks if you use rocks. So these, in warmth, will be open in a matter of days, and then we will have that beautiful white, kind of star-shaped flower, about the size of a dime, bright yellow center, and then again highly fragrant. Now, handout mentions, and I'll just mention as well, Paperwhites and Amaryllis are both relatively toxic. Amaryllis is quite toxic to pets and, curious children, I guess. So keep that in mind if this is something that's going to be on, countertops or dining room tables or places that you don't normally have greenery because pets can be curious. And if that becomes, just a flat out deal breaker for you, we have these stunning Christmas cactus or Thanksgiving cactus basically in a range of colors, and zygo cactus, Thanksgiving, Christmas cactus are always non-toxic and long-lasting and a beautiful holiday plant as well. So if toxicity is a concern for you, we've got great holiday plants to suggest as alternatives. So let me see, where was it? Okay, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, Paperwhites. Amaryllis, juggle. Amaryllis are often available in a couple of different sizes of bulbs. And unfortunately this year, we have almost sold out of our Amaryllis. So they've been very popular, and all of the encouraging that we've been doing for people to, pot up things at home has worked, and lots of folks have bought Amaryllis. So I apologize if, we run out and you aren't able to purchase one from us, but there's always next year. Amaryllis can come in a maybe almost baseball-sized bulb here, on up to, I guess this is pretty good softball size. I would say also like a nice small orange to a Texas ruby grapefruit. So good sized bulbs on both accounts, but you'll get at least one flower stalk from the smaller bulb. You should have about 3 flower stalks develop from the larger bulb. So that means, as you can see with this potted amaryllis here, this is a white, this is Wedding Dance, which is a white amaryllis flower. So of course, as I mentioned, pink, white, red, sometimes striped. Wedding Dancer, we see 2 flower stalks have emerged. They're not in sync with each other, so they're not competing. The petals, we can already see some of the petals showing up on this larger stalk, and then the next flower to bloom will be this lower secondary stalk. Now I actually believe that there is a 3rd flower stalk that I can see just beginning to come, I don't know if you can see that, just beginning to come out of the base here is a 3rd flower stalk. And then there are leaves. So over here you can see the little kind of pointy green leaves that'll come up after the flowers have finished blooming. So we can also see on this potted bulb, the top of the bulb. So the neck, so to speak, of the amaryllis is exposed or above soil, and the soil line goes up to about its shoulders. Also, the size of this bulb is about so, which means that it has approximately an inch between the bulb itself and the sides of the container, and that is exactly what it would like. So we don't want to put an amaryllis in a giant container. It likes to have a tight fit in its pot. So this, believe it or not, even, a bulb of this size, well, that's a little bit too tight probably of a fit there. But we could put that into this size container here, and it would have a nice inch around it on all sides, and about 2 inches that I could put in the bottom of soil to lift it up to that right level. And then when we finish with soil, the soil line is going to be here where my fingers are, and the kind of neck of the amaryllis will stick out of the soil. Now on this particular one here, which is Red Lion, one of the most popular red, and again, giant, these flowers are giant. One of the most popular amaryllis here is the Red Lion. And as we see on this one, there's no action. Nothing's happening. So on the smaller one, we see the bud of the actual flower is already emerging from the bulb. And then what we also see is the cut off remains of last year's flowers, of last year's leaves. So that's what's at the top of this. Now this is last year's leaves got cut off too, but they're just all dried up. In the center of this is still deeper down is where our bud is. So it's going to take this one a little bit longer to emerge and bloom, but it will, grow. So starting with an amaryllis like so, again, we have these stringy roots hanging off of the bottom of them. Some are good, some are gonna fall apart as you take it out of its package or whatever. It's okay to just go ahead and start it right away, but I like to actually soak this. So I just use like a tea saucer, or just a little shallow saucer, lukewarm water in the saucer, and then just set the bulb in the saucer. You don't want the whole bulb to be in water. You just want those roots to soak up and hydrate a little. It can be in the water for an hour or so. That'll give the bulb a little bit of a jump start. Then we're going to go ahead and pot it. Again, this is too small, so I can't use this container. My bulb doesn't even fit in there. But this size could be a good size container for this little bulb here. So about 2 inches of soil on the bottom. Place your bulb into the center, and then we would just pack soil around it until it hit the shoulders and leave that little neck exposed. Then you want to go ahead and water it after you've potted it, just to kind of water it in and settle the soil. Then you want to wait until you've seen an actual sprout come out of the bulb or significant additional growth from where you started, you know. So as this guy is here, we want to see at least a good 2 or 3 inches more of growth start before we water it the second time. And the same with this bulb. We'll water it after we pot it. Then we want to leave it alone until we have a 2 to 3 inch shoot of green growth that has come out of the top of the bulb. Now, where the Paperwhites begin their growth with leaves and then follow with the flower, the Amaryllis are the opposite. So they're going to begin with the flower stalk and then another flower stalk, and if it's a large bulb, probably a third flower stalk. Each flower stalk, as it finishes blooming, can be cut down to the base, allowing the next one to show, and again, cut that one down. Then as the final flower stalk is finished, the plant will begin to grow leaves. So again, the reverse of the Paperwhite, the leaves are long, green, strappy, yeah, they're green, believe it or not, they're green. Long, strappy, kind of, not grassy, they're thicker than grass, but long, kind of strappy leaves that, again, are also toxic. So, you know, at that point, don't forget about it if you've got a pet that likes to chew on things. But Paperwhites are something, or excuse me, Amaryllis can be grown year after year with some aftercare. So I'm not going to go through the aftercare, but it's super simple. Just check the handout, and we talk about when to put it outside, when to bring it back in, and how to do all of that. But if you have questions on that, check, you know, write me on the comments, and I'll follow up. Paperwhites are like a one-time deal. So again, Paperwhites you're going to enjoy and then just compost when they're finished blooming. But in Amaryllis, you'll have that after. I mean, again, you don't have to commit to it if you don't want to. But if you want to grow it year after year, you follow through after it finishes blooming with just kind of the aftercare that you'll find in the handout. So one is a one-shot deal, and the other can be grown year after year. Both plants, Paperwhites and Amaryllis, would prefer bright indirect light, but will do okay in medium light. Not really low light. Both of them also will kind of bend to the dominant direction of the light source. So it's important, as we talk about even in the regular house plants, to give the plant a rotating change of direction every so often. Could be every couple of days even, because they're so fast growing. But the more you rotate the plant, the less it gets kind of fixated on the light sources always come from a single direction, and then it grows kind of towards that as as you'll see them growing, kind of bending towards the light. Same with an Amaryllis. We want to constantly rotate the plant so that we don't end up with a bulb that grows crooked or a stalk that grows crooked. And also, even then, you may find that your Paperwhites or Amaryllis have grown tall enough that they need a stake or a support or something like that. So it's possible, and again, don't let your plant flop over. Just not if you're not sure about staking. You can go out and trim a pretty little stick from your own garden or yard and place that into the pot itself to kind of give the plant something to lean on, or a bamboo support from your potting shed, or come into the garden center and purchase something like that. As you put it into the container, always be careful that you're not piercing the bulb itself with the stake. So as you put it in, just kind of respect the fact that the bulb is thick down there, so watch out. So now, with all of that in mind, we've got two examples of potting styles that I was going to show you with go do a kitchen cabinet audit. Look what I found in my kitchen cabinet. Well, where did this come from? Honestly, it might not even be mine. It looks like the kind of thing somebody brought like a salad over in at a dinner party when we used to do those things, and I washed it and never gave it back. So if it's yours and you were at my house for some sort of party, claim it. I will give it back to you with Paperwhites in it, so be aware of that. But I would consider that an upgrade. This is, just like it's a glass bowl, but it's the perfect size. It's the perfect depth, in my opinion, for potting Paperwhites. And so here we go. Now I just chose, because again, if you watched last week, we used these little glass beads to show off a pebble tray, the concept of increasing humidity around your plants indoors. A great concept if you want to revisit last week's class. So I already have these in here, and they're perfect because either we're going to pot into rocks and use water, or we're going to use soil. Because this is a clear glass vessel, I would rather use clear glass pebbles, so to speak, or these little whatever glass things, and water. And then I'll have another container that I show you how we do it with soil. So I've already put a few in here. Never just pour, hard, heavy glass or rocks straight into a glass bowl. Always, into your hand and into there. And then always, hold on to your equipment. It was going in the bloopers for sure. Man, stay tuned for that blooper. But my bowl is okay. Always be careful when you're working with glass. We're going to go ahead and, I need some more. We're going to go ahead and fill this up just a little bit more. We'll have these, I like that level. I'll have about 6, I figure, in this. 4, 5, 6 is a good number. I could put a few more in, but, all right, so 6 just sitting, in a layer of pebbles. And then we would use, if they weren't all over the floor, I would have more in my container and I would be able to fill this up. But I just want you to get the idea, right? So we're gonna basically just fill these in, and we would fill them all the way up to just the top of the bulb. Squish, squish, squish. Just to the top of the bulb with these little glass pebbles. And then, because this is a glass container, it's great because we can see the water level from the side of the pot. So we would then add water to the container to fill the rock layer just to the bottom of the bulbs where the roots are. We would not fill the whole bowl with water and have these bulbs submerged underwater. That's a quick way to rot the bulbs. So again, we would have that water line just to the root area. And then every couple of days, kind of tip this or check, look on the sides and see where the water level is. And then just top it off so that it's, again, always just at the bottom of the bulb where the roots are and not sitting way up over the bulb itself. So this could be done with smaller rock as well. This is one of our favorite decorative rock products to use, and we call them tiny shinies. I'll show you why. They're tiny and shiny. And tiny shinies could either be the base that you put into your container and then fill in around the bulbs with the tiny shinies, or you could use a decorative rock as a top dressing if you were going to use soil, for example, as your main planting medium. So, that being said, let me get the breakable stuff out of the way. A little late for that, says Becky. And then we've got this other fun container. So here's just like a tin, right? We are going to put soil in here, and we're going to then occasionally water this. So if you, if you're going to have this on your antique dining room table or your heirloom armoire or whatever, you know, like just check to make sure that it doesn't leak water. And I always encourage these, you know, aptly named surface protectors. They're basically coasters. And they go under, this is a little small, we would need a bigger one, but they basically go underneath anything that we might worry that would sweat or stain or, you know, release moisture or condensation as a perfect surface protector. So again, think about that, and always think about what you're using and where you've got it. So this, we're gonna add a little bit of soil to the bottom. Now this is just regular potting soil. But again, remember, we've got no drainage holes in the bottom of this container. So, I'm gonna add our soil, maybe halfway or so. Let's kind of see how, I'm gonna add a little bit more soil actually. So you gotta check and try it on. I'll do another scoop or two. Again, like pre-moistened soil is always a great thing to work with. So we've got a couple of inches still to go before the top, but that allows us to get these Paperwhites in. 3, 4, I think again I can do 6. 6. So see, I just kind of give them a little shimmy to get them nestled into the soil just a tad. And then soil on top. Oh. But remember, we want their little necks out just a little bit. So as opposed to like planting daffodils or tulips in the ground, those guys are completely buried. These are not completely buried. I'm going to pack it in a little with your fingers between the bulbs. Water sometimes will help you do that too, you know, as you water it in. I'll just get, center guy seems to be a little high, so get them all to be like a similar level. And if on this, if I leave these a little bit exposed, then I can use tiny shinies and make a pretty little layer on top that'll make them more attractive. So I can water that in. Looks like I've got a loose piece. I can pull that paper off. Water that in, and then just a layer. See if I can not spill those all over. Just a little layer of rocks on top and then leveling that out. And that gives you, I think, a prettier look, a little bit more finished look of something that you would have on your kitchen counter, on your dining room table without looking at a lot of dirt, for example. Now, as we water this, this is a lightweight container, so we can kind of feel how heavy it is. But again, you want to think about if water is going to stay in the container, you only want the water to be really at the bottom of you want the soil to be mildly moist, and if there's standing water, you don't want it to go beyond the top of the root area of the bulb. So you don't ever want to see water pooling at the surface, and if you do, you need to figure out how to like grab that container, drain off maybe some of that excess water, otherwise you're going to be looking at rotting. Now, with all that said, and again, your handout's got some great tips and information. The Paperwhites, 4 to 6 weeks. Amaryllis could be 6 to 12 weeks. So we may be a little bit, past Christmas for an Amaryllis, but it's, like, how about a Valentine's Amaryllis? How about a New Year's Amaryllis? Anytime a flower is going to bloom in the house, we aren't going to be like, you're late, so just, keep potting up get as many as you can and grow as many flowers indoors as you can, especially this year, because we're not really doing much else, and they're really fun and satisfying to grow. There's a final tip on the handout that talks about one of the most common complaints that people have about Paperwhites specifically, and that is, so, you know, already you can see that they're tall and getting taller. So these are about a foot tall now, and they are a little floppy. These guys are sturdy, they're short. These are already a little floppy, and as they open up, they might be even more floppy and need to be secured or staked to keep them from, you know, splaying out. There are ways to keep not only your Paperwhites shorter and stockier, but to keep them from, you know, again, like being floppy and all loose. And the various techniques include, one version would be taking something such as our potted container. After I finish potting this, I'm going to put it in a cool, dark space for about a week to 10 days. And in that week to 10 days in the dark, we won't see a lot of top growth occur, but it will begin to form roots. And as it forms roots, that'll give it a nice anchor and kind of a head start at the base, which will hold it up better as it grows towards the top. Again, cooler weather will keep them growing a little bit slower and also keep them a little bit sturdier or stockier. So I don't mean outside or anywhere freezing, but, you know, garage shed, somewhere that's cool but protected. And then finally, you can go science. And what I love is that Cornell University and the students at Cornell University have tackled this Paperwhite flop problem, as if there aren't enough, you know, critical issues for college and university studies to focus on how to prevent or how to improve Paperwhite growth. And the Cornell University students came up with a suggestion that included watering the bulbs after they've been potted and started growing. You water them with a 4 to 6% alcohol solution. So that means that you're adding a diluted amount of alcohol to the water that you put into the growing container and maintaining that kind of 4 to 6% in the pot. The theory behind it is that the plants have less access to water because there's some alcohol content to the liquid in the growing media, and so that slight kind of water stress keeps the plant a little bit shorter and more compact. It does not, however, affect the size or quality of the flower. So again, on your handout, you will see how to make a 5% alcohol solution with, like, you know, gin or whatever you have at home. And then if you don't want to share your, you know, alcohol cabinet with your plants, you could use rubbing alcohol. I do also give you how to dilute regular, you know, 70% rubbing alcohol with water to come up with a perfect alcohol solution to give your bulbs. Give it a try, and again, you know, try all the different methods. See what works best, give me your feedback, and maybe, you know, you can inform Cornell University of some updated studies. Clear alcohol seems to be better than brown, so keep your whiskey and, you know, use the vodka. So, but again, experiment all you want. This is the holidays. It's for having fun and learning new things. And hopefully you do it again with joy and with others, as long as you can stay safe and healthy. Again, thanks for watching. Happy gardening.